One of the biggest concerns that just about every adult in this country has is how they are going to get by in retirement. It's not something that will happen by accident. It requires planning. And with us here on 207 to talk about it is Jack Arbor. He's a certified financial planner who runs J.M. Arbor, a wealth management company in Hollowell. Thanks for coming in. Good to have you. We should also mention that your latest book, the latest of 4 or 5, is called The Ultimate Guide to Retirement Income Planning. You start off the book, Jack, by noting that the number one concern that people have about retirement is that they will run out of money. Is that justified?
It is. The average retiree today has about $126,000 in investable assets the day to retire. And what we're seeing is people are living longer today. The average person is living between 25 and 30 years in retirement, which is a long time. So, people living that long, they're thinking with the markets being volatile, pensions going away, will I have enough money to live the rest of my life and be comfortable?
The number 2 concern that people have, and it's kind of tied into this, is will they be able to maintain their lifestyle? Are they going to be able to sort of keep living the way they have, or are they going to have to cut back? Is that a reasonable concern?
It is. We see it all the time. We see rising prices with inflation. Right now, we're seeing about 7 or 8%. When people retire, one of the largest goals that we typically hear up front is, if I can maintain my lifestyle, I'll be happy. One of the questions we typically ask is, well, would you like to enhance your lifestyle? And for a lot of people, that has never really been a thought. So oftentimes just putting together a plan to maintain that lifestyle, but also look at the simple things that a person can do to enhance it.
When you're talking with clients, one of the first things that you do is you ask them to fill out a monthly budget worksheet where they put down everything, how much they spend on gasoline, how much they spend on electricity, rent, taxes, food, the whole thing. Why is that so important, to get a sense of where the money is going?
Well, we believe a house is very much like a business. We have money coming in and we have money going out. At the end of the day, it's great to have a surplus, which is money left over, which we call discretionary income. That's money that you can put into anything you want. Mostly it goes towards fun, travel, and what retirees are really looking to do.
Do most people have a good sense of where they're spending their money, of where it's going?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say the number one thing that a financial advisor can bring to the table for value is helping a person create a written plan, because most people who do retire, it's kind of one of those numbers that's up in the air. Will I have enough? How long will it last? And having a written plan is something that will show somebody, whether they're on track to have a surplus or a shortfall. But yeah, it's a question that most people have. Will I have enough?
So for people who are starting to think about retirement, and people start at really wildly varying ages. Some people start thinking about it when they're in their early 20s. Some don't start thinking about it until they're in their 60s maybe, and retirement is just a year or 2 away. But what's the first step people should take?
Well, the funny thing is that when I ask people, when do you want to retire, I often get the comical answer of tomorrow. But the first step that I would say a person should take is to really take a hard look at the numbers and to know what those numbers are in terms of the income, what the expenses in retirement are going to be. And then when we're filling out that worksheet, we may know, the answers in terms of what things are going to cost, but we also have to ask, what are they going to cost tomorrow? And what are the costs that we have that we know for a fact will change, and by how much?
A lot of people rely on a number of different sources of income, maybe Social Security, maybe they've got some savings, maybe they've got a pension, a small pension, maybe they don't. But for a lot of people, Social Security is really where they begin, and it's one of the important legs of the stool. Right now, the projections are, I believe, that the Social Security Trust Fund will not be able to meet its obligations in 2034, just a decade out. How concerned should people be about whether Social Security, the Social Security they expect to get, will be there for them?
I'm very confident that it will be there. It may look a little bit different. The amount that they get also might be different. We're constantly seeing changes from the administration in regards to how Social Security is paid out. For example, Social Security starts at 62. People can take it as late as 70. People used to file what are called restricted applications, claim on their spouse. Some of those were phased out in 2020. So when you're looking at this, you also have to ask the question, do I have a pension, whether it's from a private employer, a state, or the federal government? And the other reason for that is because we know that the average retiree who will be hitting retirement in 10 to 15 years from now or more, we are told from the Social Security Administration that about 80% of that income will come from sources that they created for themselves.
I think a really important takeaway from the book is that people shouldn't stick their head in their sand. If they're not comfortable with the idea of thinking about retirement planning, if they're worried that they're not going to have money, to just ignore the future is not the way to go.
Yeah, Social Security average check this year in 2023 is about $1,700 per year. So the answer, I'm sorry, thank you, yes, $1,700 per month. So the answer is we want to look outside of Social Security and see what we can put away for ourselves.
Jack Arbour. The name of the book is The Ultimate Guide to Retirement Income Planning.